Welcome back to the deep dive. We all want to stay informed, really get a handle on things, but without getting totally swamped.
Definitely. Information overload is real.
So that's our job here. We dig into interesting sources, pull out the key ideas, the stuff that actually matters, so you get the insights without the overwhelm.
And today, we're digging into some fascinating work by Dr. Puyan Gamari. He's looking at something fundamental. The difference between, that quick hit of pleasure and real, lasting happiness.
Right. And his work tackles why so many people feel, well, busy but bored, even though we're surrounded by constant stimulation.
Exactly. He talks about being stuck in what he calls a pleasure matrix.
That phrase really caught my eye, a pleasure matrix.
Yeah.
It sounds like something we need to unpack, this idea that we're maybe caught chasing short-term highs.
Uh-huh. Driven by those little dopamine boosts.
So that's our goal today.
Yeah.
Get under the hood of this pleasure matrix concept, see how it works, and explore Dr. Gamari's ideas on finding what he calls soul satisfaction. It's about getting those aha moments.
And I think what listeners will find useful is how clearly he maps out the difference. It helps make sense of why chasing instant gratification doesn't always add up to feeling genuinely good. You get those moments of clarity.
Okay, let's start there. This central distinction, pleasure versus happiness. How does Dr. Gamari break it down?
Well, he contrasts them pretty sharply. Pleasure, he says, is immediate. It's fleeting.
Comes from outside us, right? Like great food, watching something funny, someone praising your work.
Exactly. And he links it to dopamine spikes in the brain. It's more of a surface feeling, and crucially, it tends to leave you wanting more. The feeling dissipates quickly.
Right, the cake's eaten, the show ends, the compliment fades.
Then there's happiness. He describes this as gradual. It builds.
And it lasts longer, comes from within.
Yes, precisely. Things like having a sense of purpose, real connection with people, personal growth, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And the chemistry is different too, more about balanced serotonin and oxytocin. It's tied to who you are, your identity, your relationships. It leaves you feeling whole, not craving.
He uses that great analogy, doesn't he? Pleasure is like eating chocolate cake amazing for 10 minutes, then it's gone. Maybe even a little regret. But happiness is like planting a vineyard. Takes work, patience, time.
But the reward is sustained, it grows, potentially benefits others too. It really captures the difference in depth and duration.
So if that distinction is clear, how do we get stuck just chasing the cake, so to speak? How does this pleasure matrix actually trap us?
Well, Dr. Gamari talks about this subconscious system, almost like emotional automation. When we feel any discomfort, boredom, stress, sadness, our default reaction is often to reach for instant distraction.
The quick fix.
Yeah. So instead of maybe sitting with that feeling or reflecting, we grab our phone or turn on the TV or buy something online.
It becomes a habit. Prioritizing stimulation over reflection. Consuming content instead of maybe creating something meaningful.
Exactly. Or, seeking applause, likes, external validation, instead of checking if something actually aligns with our deeper values.
And it's not just us making bad choices in isolation, is it? He points to the environment, too.
Oh, absolutely. He stresses that. Our digital world especially is kind of built to foster this. Notifications, endless feeds, easy entertainment. It all trains us to seek that next little hit.
He gives that example, Sebastian, the consultant in Geneva, 37 years old.
Right.
On paper, looks like he's got it made. Good job. Probably lives well. Busy schedule.
But his day is described as this relentless cycle. Check emails immediately, rush between meetings, grab takeout because he's exhausted, zone out with streaming, maybe wine, then repeat.
All looks productive, successful even.
But the key point Dr. Gamari makes is that internally, Sebastian feels numb, empty. His joy, such as it is all external, conditional, transactional. It doesn't stick.
That's a perfect picture of being in the matrix, isn't it? Not sci-fi, but just caught in these patterns.
Exactly. Reacting with pleasure-seeking, driven by external cues.
Okay, so if we recognize we might be caught in this, or at least leaning that way, how do we start to break free? Dr. Gamari proposes a strategy, right? 4 levels.
Yes, a 4-level approach to realignment. And level 1 is simply awareness. He calls it name the game.
Just seeing it for what it is.
Pretty much. You can't change a pattern you don't consciously see. So the first step is just noticing how and when you reach for those quick pleasure hits.
And he suggests a practical exercise for this, the pleasure inventory.
Yes. For about 3 days, you basically track the things that give you that quick high. What triggered it? How long did the good feeling last? And importantly, how did you feel after it wore off?
Like keeping a log of the dopamine spikes and crashes.
Kind of, yeah. But without judgment, it's just observation. And you might start seeing patterns.
Like, oh, every time I feel stressed, I end up scrolling Instagram for 20 minutes and then I feel kind of worse.
Exactly. Or that online shopping buzz lasts maybe an hour, then I just feel guilty. That awareness, he says, is the first crack in the matrix wall.
Okay, so awareness is step one. What's level two?
Level 2 is realignment. This is about actively reconnecting with what genuinely fulfills you, not just distracts you.
So moving beyond just noticing the pattern to figuring out what should replace it.
Right. And this involves asking yourself some deeper questions, like when do you feel truly engaged, alive, without needing anyone else to notice or approve? Or what activities make you lose track of time, but in a good way, a nourishing way?
Not just zoning out.
Exactly. And also, what core values might you be neglecting for the sake of comfort or those easy pleasures?
Those are big questions. They force you to look inwards.
They do. And out of that reflection, Dr. Gamari suggests creating what he calls a fulfillment compass. Basically, identifying maybe 3 core values that really truly matter to you.
Like the example of Johanna, the nurse in Basel. Her values were integrity, connection, and growth.
Right. And the point wasn't just naming them, but she started using them as a filter, asking, does this decision, this use of my time, align with integrity, with connection, with growth?
Making it practical.
Yes. And that leads to a really concrete tip. Align your actual calendar with your fulfillment compass.
So if connection is a value, you literally schedule, say, a weekly phone-free dinner.
Or if growth is key, you block out time for learning or working on that side project, making the values tangible in your schedule.
Got it. Awareness, then realignment. What's level 3?
Level 3 is rituals. This is about intentionally replacing those automatic reactive habits with consistent, deliberate practices that align with your values.
Consistency is the key here, then. Building a new kind of automaticity.
Exactly. He argues that these consistent rituals gradually shape our identity around what truly matters.
And he gives those Swiss-style examples, which sound quite doable, like morning stillness. Just 10 minutes.
Yeah, 10 minutes to just pause, reset the nervous system, build a bit of focus. He mentions Marcus from Lucerne, who just writes down one intention for the day in that time. Simple.
Then the digital sunset. An hour before bed, screens off.
Reduces that overstimulation, helps sleep. Elena from Zurich reads a physical book, charges her phone elsewhere. It's about creating boundaries.
What else? There was a weekly meaning hour.
Right. Dedicated time for those important but not urgent, purpose-driven tasks. Theo from Bern uses Sunday mornings for his art.
Prevents those things from always getting pushed aside.
Uh-huh. And the last one was the gratitude anchor.
Ah, yes, like Lara from Lausanne, journaling 3 good things after her tea, training the brain to notice the good stuff.
Exactly. These rituals aren't huge time commitments, but done consistently, they build momentum and reinforce that alignment with your values.
Makes sense. Awareness, realignment, rituals. What's the final level? Level 4?
Level 4 is contribution. This is about shifting the focus from your own ego, your own needs, towards the wider ecosystem contributing to something beyond yourself.
Helping others, basically.
Essentially, yes. He suggests that doing things for others, especially quietly, without needing fanfare or expecting something back, is a powerful route to fulfillment. It takes you out of your own head.
Examples like mentoring someone, sharing skills you have, maybe community volunteering.
Or even just creating something helpful or uplifting online with the intent to give, not just get attention. It fundamentally shifts the mindset from what can I take from this situation, the pleasure mindset, to what can I give, which fosters happiness.
That's a clear contrast.
And he includes those quick stories, the Swiss life samples, to show this isn't just theory.
Right. Nicholas in Zurich, the 28-year-old, stuck in TikTok and gaming.
Felt anxious, disconnected. He consciously shifted time towards learning UX design, ended up building a mental health app, getting clients, finding real purpose, a tangible shift.
And Sabine, 44, in Geneva, moved away from constant luxury buying.
Which left her feeling empty despite the temporary highs. She embraced things like forest therapy, decluttering, hosting simple, phone-free dinners for neighbors.
And felt rich in spirit, she said. A different kind of wealth.
Those stories really ground the ideas, I think, show the real-world impact.
Definitely. Now, before we wrap up, he also warns about some traps along the way, doesn't he? Things to watch out for.
Yes, important cautions. One is getting caught in distraction, disguised as productivity.
Like constantly checking email, making endless to-do lists, planning, but never actually doing the deep work. Feels busy, but avoids the real stuff.
Precisely. Another trap is performative living, doing things mainly for show, for the likes, for external approval, rather than because they genuinely align with your internal compass.
The Instagram effect again, maybe?
Could be. And finally, emotional outsourcing, expecting other people or external circumstances to make you happy, rather than cultivating that sense of contentment from within.
Right, relying on something outside yourself for your internal state.
Yeah. And for navigating these moments when you feel yourself slipping, he offers a really useful check-in question.
Which is?
Just pause and ask, am I reacting out of habit here, or am I responding out of purpose?
That's a great question. Habit or purpose? Puts the choice back in your hands.
It really does. So ultimately, the big message from Dr. Gamari isn't that pleasure is bad. It has its place.
Sure. Enjoying things is fine.
Of course. But if that's all we focus on without a deeper sense of direction, it can be limiting, a kind of cage, as he puts it.
And true happiness isn't necessarily about constant excitement either.
No. He suggests it's often found more quietly, in being present, in those meaningful connections, in contributing in acts of service. It's the steady warmth, not just the fireworks.
So the question he leaves us with, essentially, is a powerful one. Something for everyone listening to consider.
Which is?
Do you want your life to just look good from the outside? Or do you want it to actually feel right from the inside?
That really cuts to the core of it.
It does. A real challenge to think about what truly matters long term.
And maybe, folks listening could take some of these ideas and just mull them over. Perhaps try that pleasure inventory for a day or two, or even just jot down what might be on their fulfillment compass.
Just as a starting point for their own exploration.
Exactly. This is just scratching the surface, really.
And just for context, Dr. Puyen Gamari himself has an interesting background. Swiss-Iranian, works as a strategist, advisor. He seems to really blend that sort of ancient wisdom perspective with understanding our modern digital age.
Yeah, helping people and organizations find more meaning. It explains that blend of deep principles and practical modern application we've been talking about.
A fascinating perspective to bring to this very common human challenge.